K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
Hey, everybody. We're here for another episode of the Bo and Joe Show. And there's Bodine Sanders making a grand entrance. Hello, gentlemen. Hello, Bodine. Can you hear us, eh?
I got you. How you doing?
All right, good. How's it going?
Hey.
Good.
All right,
Ready
so
for...
we had a big week. I mean, the playoffs were incredible, but I think we talked about it before well, first tell me how your week went. How was your week, guys?
A week's been busy, absolutely busy. And but we have a lot to talk about, and we want to try to wrap up as soon as we can because Villanova's on right now and I'm recording it. So don't say a word, Ferris.
I'm not going to say a word. I'm doing the same thing you're doing.
I'm recording it. So
all right. Well, I think we talked about it off screen. Well, I know we talked about it off screen, and Justin's already bringing it up in the comments. So let's jump in. I think the big story and right within our window and in our lane is the Brian Flores lawsuit. And Justin, we're on the same tune with you. Adrian, you brought it up, and why don't you introduce it and talk a little bit about it, and then we'll give our perspective on it as well.
Well, there's a lot that goes with this. A lot has happened today, yesterday. Brian Flores, I think everybody probably knows, was the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, and head coach from 2019 to this year. He was fired at the end of this season. Which was a peculiar firing because he had taken them from a 5-11 record in his first season in 2019 to the Dolphins' first consecutive winning season since 2003. So I think there was a lot of question as to why he was fired in the first place after coming off of a 10-6 and 9-8 season. And this year having injuries at the quarterback spot, having question marks at the quarterback spot. So he was fired. And going into yesterday, he has sued the NFL and also named the Miami Dolphins, the Denver Broncos, and the New York Giants in that suit for different reasons. And we all know about the Rooney Rule and what the Rooney Rule means, but just in case people don't, the Rooney Rule is a rule that was put in place to try to improve the hiring of minority coaches, especially head coaches in the NFL, considering 70% of the players are Black African-American players. So that rule was put in place to hopefully improve the number of head coaches of color and minority head coaches in the NFL. With his firing, it leaves one Black head coach in the NFL, and that obviously is Mike Tomlin with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The big incident that has come up with this is in 2019, he claims that the owner of the Miami Dolphins, Stephen Ross, offered him $100,000 per loss to lose games in that season. That's probably what's come out of this thing as the biggest piece, because the others are things that can be denied. Things, well, not just alleged. Can be denied, but they're alleged. But they're things that are more connected to the Rooney Rule itself, and these payments or offered payments really has taken precedence over the other couple things that have gone on. So, I mean, there's a whole lot in here that we can talk about, and Hugh Jackson has also stepped up today, the previous head coach for the Cleveland Browns, and a lot of the information that he's provided really speaks to and kind of backup's probably not the right word, but it speaks to what Brian Flores is saying with the $100,000 per game to lose. So I'm going to leave it there for the moment. So Bo, you can chime in, and then I can come back to some of my thoughts afterwards.
Well, can I ask a clarifying question? So, I read about it. I don't understand what is and I didn't read about this piece of it. What was the point of losing the games for the $100,000? What would have been the motivation or the objective or the positive? What was the rationale for that?
It would be higher draft picks. The rationale for losing would be to be able to, number one, potentially get the highest draft pick possible, which would be the number one draft pick, and also to be able to accumulate potentially more picks depending on what you want to do in that particular year. And that's kind of connected to what Hugh Jackson was saying. So Hugh Jackson was talking today about his time in Cleveland and how when he got the job, management came to him and the ownership came to him with what he called a 4-year plan. And the first 2 years of that 4-year plan had nothing to do with winning. It was all about losing games and being able to, once again, accumulate draft picks, high draft picks, multiple draft picks to try to be in a better position to win in years 3 and 4. So winning was not even a conversation as far as he's concerned until years 3 and 4. Needless to say, his record in the first 2 years was 1-31 as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. So there's a lot more that can go to that, because after he went 1-31, these things were going on. He went to Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL. He told him about what was going on, and basically it was pushed under the rug from what he's saying. He says he has paper documentation of it. The Browns have denied it. And he's gone so far as to say if Brian Flores wanted him to join the class action lawsuit, he would do that, because it's something that needs to be changed, quite honestly. The last piece of that was after he went 1-31 those first 2 years, they signed him to an extension, but that extension was kept under wraps. It wasn't made public. So they extended his contract after a 1-31 season, and then 8 games into the 2018 season, they fired him.
I don't know if you want to jump in, Bodine. I have a few things to say about it, but I'm interested to hear in your perspective.
Well, I listen. I was on the phone till 2:00 in the morning last night. Woke up on the phone having conversations. Remember, we talked about the potential of the Raiders firing of Gruden and how we don't know what's going to happen. Things could possibly happen. I mean, this is worse. This is much worse. And it's not on the NFL league office. It has nothing to do with Roger Goodell. It has nothing to do with the league office, because the league office works for the owners. And so it's a mess. It's going to get, we're going to be talking about this every day until something happens, meaning until it's settled or till they come to an agreement to strengthen the Rooney Rule. More is about, let's say 40 coaches or 50 coaches join in the class action lawsuit. I mean, that's pretty powerful. So there's no way around getting around this. This is pretty bad.
I think it's pretty bad, but I think we got to tread lightly when we say it's worse. We don't want to quantify the degradation of women either. I mean, I don't think that we can, I don't want to say that racism or that scenario where those women were. Well, what are you speaking about when we're saying it's worse? Are we talking about? Yeah.
What I said was it's worse than the Oakland Raiders situation. I didn't say the Washington Commanders, new Commanders, right? I said the Oakland situation. This is worse than that.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that for the viewers because we've tied in so much of that together into that in our previous conversations. But when I read about it, and obviously, I'm not as knowledgeable about it as you guys. First of all, the Rooney Rule to me just seems like a sham. Why are we, obviously we want diversity and give people opportunity, but who's to clarify the number? Why are we saying it's a minimum of 2? Why are we, why does it have to have a quantifying number? And I think that there should be 10, 15. Why any qualified coach? We shouldn't be saying that only two, the rule is only 2 Black individuals have to be interviewed. To me, that's ridiculous. And
well, it's probably because they looked at how many jobs traditionally it's between 5, sometimes as high as 8 to 9 jobs are available per year. Traditional, right? What's the average, right? So if you have an average of 5 to 6 openings per season, right? And then based on how many people they've interviewed in the past, right? They up that number. So the Rooney Rule was put in place. It started out as a great process, but it faded over time because just like anything, you can find a way to work around certain processes, right? So folks found a way to work around it. Remember, a couple of years ago, there was a conversation happening about Black coaches saying, man, I'm not going on that interview because I'm not going to get the job. They're just having me fly out and wine and dine me just so they can check the box. So that conversation has moved to now someone actually having some type of proof, right? It's proof that he was asked to come interview for a job when they already had let known they had intentions of hiring someone else. Now, the issue with the tanking games, that's alleged until it's proven, right? We want to protect ourselves just in case this video goes viral. We don't want to get sued. But I mean, again, this soup is hard. Whoever made this soup is terrible tasting. This is a bad soup. I don't want any part of this soup because this is bad, right? So, but I think it's going to get worse. And again, it is not on the league. This has no one can point fingers at the league. It's the owners. It's going to fall in their lap. They have to make changes. They have to come up with new policies and procedures in order to, and by the way, words matter. 58% of the league is Black. 70% of the league is minority, right? So those are the true numbers, right? So there is absolutely change needs to be happened. We need to have these conversations, but we can have the conversations all we want. They need to have those conversations in the owners' meetings that are probably going to happen in the next couple of days because it's going to get worse.
Well, so here's my thing. Number one, you can point to the league because if Hugh Jackson states that he went to Roger Goodell about what he was asked to do with the Cleveland Browns, and he pushed it under the rug. Yes, he works for the owners, but he's still the commissioner of the league. So it is a league matter. That's the first thing in my mind. Secondly, the Rooney Rule. The reason this is happening is because of the Rooney Rule. So the Rooney Rule is like, you own IBM, Bo, and I come to you and I tell you as the owner of IBM, well, Bo, you know what? Here's how you have to vet your potential CEO. Here is what you have to do in order to find your CEO. And this is what you have to do. Is that going to make you hire somebody that I want you to hire? No, it's not. But
it's not about hiring. It's about
it is about hiring.
The Rooney Rule was created.
I understand why it was created, but it's also about hiring. Okay, yeah. So I understand why it was created, and it was created to give opportunities to interview for jobs.
That is correct.
But that opportunity is not with the intent to just give the opportunity and not hire anybody.
Well, that's obvious.
That's right. So what I'm saying is the intent is to try to increase the percentage of minority head coaches. Okay. And so the rule makes it so the owners start to do the things that we're talking about, to just go through the process, to just check the box, and then you get to the place where, okay, I've already given you the job, but Brian Flores, I still need my second guy to come in, and you come in and interview me already, even though I've already given the job to somebody else. So the rule and how and the fact that it has no teeth. Okay, the rule has no teeth if it doesn't help. Okay, and if there are just ways to go around the rule, and that is why they are where they are today, because you can't tell an owner who they're going to hire. You just can't do that. No, and so if you can't do that, then putting something in place like this, I mean, what does it really mean? You know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, but I'm telling you, the Rooney Rule wasn't created for hiring. The Rooney Rule was created. The spirit of the rule is in hopes that because you get someone new and fresh into the room to interview them, and they then wow you, boom, then the owner has the opportunity. But the problem was, before the Rooney Rule, not enough minorities were being interviewed. So it was created to get them in the room. And then if, like the only black coach in the league for the Pittsburgh Steelers, he was not their first choice. But once he got in the room, he blew them away. Boom. He was hired. Yeah. And he's been there ever since.
And I'm with you on that.
But we're saying the same thing. Over time, the rule that was created just to get folks in the room, folks aren't living up to the spirit of that rule. They're circumventing that rule. They're finding a ways around that rule because of whatever issues they have. So we're saying the same thing, we're just saying it differently.
Yeah, I mean, but and I'm with you, but they're going into a room of closed minds.
Oh,
why is Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh? Because the Rooneys have a much more a more open mind than the rest of the ownership. Okay, because there's no way, and you said the word wow me, give them a chance to wow me. There's no way you can tell me that there aren't African-American coaches, black coaches, Hispanic coaches in that league that won't walk into the room and wow you. You
Well,
can't tell. I mean, you
we
can't tell me that.
no.
It's that way if you're not open to it.
I'm not saying again. I'm not arguing with you. What I'm saying is we're saying the same thing. We're just saying it differently. But we're already doing something, and it just dawned on me. We're already making mistakes in our conversation. There are 2 minority head coaches in this league.
Oh yeah, there are. Well, I mean, I know there are,
There's 1 black coach
and
and 1
Washington.
minority in
Yeah,
Washington. And we
yeah.
didn't say that in the beginning. So the bottom line is, yes, we still need more, no doubt about it. There's a problem in the process, and that's what this lawsuit is going to bring even a bigger and brighter light to. But I hope whatever Hugh Jackson has to, in terms of his proof, his communications with the league, if that happens, then it's going to look bad on the league. But just because he says he has it, that's not proof yet. So I don't want to go there until it's apps. Brian Flores, who's bringing the lawsuit, he's got a 68-page proof and documentation. We haven't seen that yet from Hugh. Until we see it, we got one guy who can prove, or at least has evidence of what his claim is. So that's why I say until the league is brought in, I don't think it's a league problem. It's an owner problem. But again, this is going to get a lot more information going to come out.
Right, and the league has already said they're not going to investigate the other things. The only thing that they're investigating are the potential payments.
Because that is worse. Out of all the issues that's in that 68-page document, that is a problem. I mean, are you kidding me? That's a problem. So if Lou, who's now the head coach at Grambling, if he can prove that his owners at the Cleveland Browns actually had a paid to lose or tank, if he has proof of that, now we got 2 teams in the league that's going to be a problem, because you can't, I mean, the integrity of the league, that's going to be a problem. So we're going to be in, this is going to be a problem.
Well, I want to interject here. There's actually 3 minority coaches. The one's of Lebanese descent. They're saying, we have Mike Tomlin, Rahmat Salah, and
and the Jets coach,
and Ron Rivera. So I just want to clarify that. But to me, it's really a humanity problem. And it really goes back to, this is just a smaller subset of society in America. And that's the reality. And you see this in corporations across the country. It's not just limited to the NFL. But think about how pervasive it is for Bill Belichick to be texting somebody 3 days prior to the interview. That is no secret. Nobody was trying to hide it. If you're smart, if you're going to be smart, then you keep it quiet till after Brian Flores at least has the interview. But it clearly nobody thought it should be hidden. That's I think that was alarming to me. But we have some people who are commenting. Justin is commenting. We have Mr. Sanders is here. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Mr. Sanders. We also have Kelvin. Good evening, Kelvin. And Jason is agreeing with us. Jason has a question. First of all, he's saying it takes away from the integrity of the league, of the game, but the league as well. I think I agree with Adrian that the league is tainted. I think that this is a cloud over the league. And Jason is saying, which I know the answer to, but Bodine, would you take 100,000 to a game to lose? And I think, no, he wouldn't. I'll speak for him, but I'll let you jump in.
Oh, absolutely not, because 100,000 is peanuts, because the contract, he was probably making between 3 and 5 million or 2 to 3 million per year as a head coach. So what's 100 grand to him? No. And a head coach's job is to lead men, right? And none of those men in that locker room none of the trainers, none of the people that work with the players, male and female, right? Because there's a lot more women now involved in sports on the sidelines who are involved with the team. People associated with the team want to win. Everybody wants to win. So there's a disconnect between the coach and everybody underneath the coach, and then the front office, and then ownership. There's a disconnect, right?
It touches everybody.
It touches everybody. Absolutely.
After Hugh Jackson spoke this evening, they had RG3 on, and RG3 was on that team with Hugh Jackson, and he spoke to how just what came out in the last day or two made him feel, because he was trying to get back. You know, he had gotten injured, left Washington, etc. So he was trying to play his way back into the league.
He was trying to get his reputation back.
That's right. And so he's speaking to, okay, well, so now I'm finding out that the mindset, I had no chance. I had no chance of getting back because the mindset was to lose games.
And and I don't know if I saw that same interview, but I saw him at some point, and he said the first thing he noticed was players getting cut, starting players getting cut. And the team was like, hold on, why are they cutting all the starters? And the conversation they had was, oh, salary cap. We took a salary cap hit. And he's going, hold on, I'm here to try to revamp my career and win and prove I can play, but you're taking all the best players and cutting them or trading them. So he, in his gut, he knew something was wrong, but what could he do about it? But now his recall is bringing those feelings back and those memories back. And he's going, I never had a chance to revamp my career. He could have been the comeback player of the year had they had those starting players in place, especially on defense, because that's what he said. Most of them were on defense. And so, yeah, I mean, again, this is terrible. This is horrible.
I mean, and for me, the final piece for me is, you look at Brian Flores. This is his livelihood. He has spent his life getting and working to get to this place. So for somebody to spend that time, to make that commitment, take themselves away from family, the things that they do, and for him to initiate this lawsuit, he's basically killing his career. So that means something. You're not going to do that you're not going to do that and be talking about something that's not true.
Oh, he's taking a huge risk.
He's taking a huge risk, and you're just not going to do that on something that's not true.
Well, no. He believes in what he's doing. He wants to make change. He wants to create change. Let's see, has the league, in terms of ownership, not treat this situation like they treated Colin Kaepernick?
Oh, it will be.
He is still in the process of interviewing for two teams, Houston and another team, as a head coach. So let's see if they cancel. Come on, it would be bad publicity to cancel those interviews at this moment. Don't you agree?
Well, yeah, and I highly doubt they would cancel their interviews.
So let's see how that turns out. But again, this is going to be you're talking about. This is going to imagine the conversation we're going to be having for our Super Bowl our Super Bowl show in what, 10 days? It's going to be more information is going to come out in the next 10 days. So we're going to be adding more and more and more.
Well, I want to read a couple quotes from him. And first of all, when he was asked about the risk and why he was doing it, he said he's doing it to help ensure change. So his children, he has 2 sons, a 7 and an 8-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter. And he does not want them to go through some of the things that he did. But somebody asked him about the risk, and he said, I understand the risk. Look, I love coaching. This is bigger than coaching. This is bigger than me. The numbers speak for themselves as far as the hiring, firing, and lack of opportunities for Black coaches and executives in the NFL. We need things to change. It's hard to do what we're doing here because in doing so, you risk doing what you love, which is coaching football. But being a Black coach in the NFL, you know there's a little bit of a target on you, and you know you have to be better than your counterparts. So I
applaud him. And let's just say worst case scenario, he never coaches again in the NFL. That'll be a sore spot for him. But guess what? There are multiple colleges out there who's going to want to hire him, without a doubt. So the difference between him and Colin Kaepernick is Colin really had no real choices. Yeah, he could have gone to Canadian League, but that's not the same. Coach Flores can obviously get a great opportunity coaching on the college level at a high level in college. So he's going to be fine. He's more worried about, or his thing he wants to do is implement change. And if he accomplished that, I think he'll be happy with knowing that he created a positive change. And then he'll go down to college and he'll coach and he'll be a great coach. And he might even get a chance to compete for a national title. So he's going to be fine.
All right, so we could talk about this all night, and I have a feeling we're going to be talking about this for a long time to come. So maybe we should segue into.
Let's segue into celebrate National Girls and Women in Sports Day.
All right.
Because we have a woman who's a sports co-host. Woohoo! Did you know it was National Girls and Women Sports Day?
I do now.
It is. That's today.
Well, I love this. I love this day because it's 2/2/22.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
That's true.
I like it. And
well, I hate to rain on your parade, but you went 0-2 this past weekend.
I know I did. I know.
And Crispy Bacon pulled it off. He went 2-0, and Ferris, you and I tied. I think my dad went. Where did he go? I think he went 1-1. Big B went 2-0, and who else? Calvin.
Kelvin had the Bengals.
He went 2-0.
Yeah.
And who else? Who else was it? Andy or Andrew?
Who did Andy have?
Andy had the Rams, and so he went 1-1. He was with us. He went 1-1 because he had the Chiefs.
Before we get into that, I want to quickly shout out, since it is women and girls in sports, we're going to be broadcasting live for the season. The Oregon Cougars football team, the women's tackle team, they're joining our family, and we're going to be broadcasting their games live. So that's a good good shout out to them. So thanks for the reminder, Jason. So we're going to be looking forward to that.
That's
cool.
Be awesome.
Yeah.
I believe Philadelphia has a women's football team, and I know Richmond has a women's football team. So I don't know if they're in the same league or not or whatever, but I need to do a little more research on that. But it's women tackle football is serious. Yeah, it's happening all over the country.
So that could be a road trip for us. I'd like to see one of those games.
Oregon's a long ways away.
No, she's talking about Philly or
the Philly game.
Yeah. I can make it to Philly.
She can make it to Philly from New York, no doubt about that.
So yeah, so at least I broke even for the playoffs. I'm 6 wins, 6 losses. I came in big week 1 and then just week 2 and 3.
That's a great way of looking at it. You started out strong.
Like if I picked the Super Bowl winner, then I could come out on top.
You
I think you going 0-2 this week gave me the win.
All right.
I think I was 1 game up.
All right. Well, all right. We'll see what happens. We'll probably, we'll have to see who we're thinking for the Super Bowl. I don't know. We talked about it behind the scenes, and I'd be happy if either team won. I like both of the, I hate to characterize the team as just the quarterback, but both of those quarterbacks, I really do like. I'm leaning more toward the Bengals. I love that story, but Stafford's family went through a difficult time. His wife had cancer. All that stuff resonates with me. So I'd be happy to see a victory for either one of these young guys.
Well, don't give all your commentary away. We got a long program on Super Bowl Sunday, so
all right,
keep your good stuff. Keep your good hot takes.
All right. Well, my human interests, I'm going to hold off on, but I like both. I like both of these teams. I like, I like the kicker as well for the Bengals.
From Florida, McPherson.
Yeah. And Jason saying, wouldn't it be something if the Detroit Lions had a quarterback like Matthew Stafford? It would really have turned that franchise around. And they needed a lot of help for sure.
Sarcasm. You got
It'd
sarcasm.
have been nice if they put some guys around him.
Yeah, to block. Yeah.
Little defense, a little offensive line, all those other things.
To block.
So we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about how amazing both of those games were. I mean, this has just been an amazing playoff season. This is really my first playoff season where I've spent any time in depth in a very long time watching the games. And, really I was riveted to my seat in most instances, why they all came down to the wire essentially. And, 13 seconds and 13 seconds played an integral role in this part. Did you see when the tweet from, now I forgot his name already, the tweet from, what's the Buffalo Bills quarterback? I forgot his name.
Josh Allen.
Oh yeah, Josh Allen tweeted out, when the 13 seconds came down, like a painful reminder to him of the prior week. So, I just think, and it seems to me like these quarterbacks all have an affinity for one another. In prior years, I think in prior generations, there seems to be a little bit more animosity, but I loved when Patrick Mahomes, went over to Burrows and hugged him and told him, now you go and win the whole thing. I love that.
Well, back in the day, actually, there used to be a quarterback club, and I don't know if they still have it, but there's such a thing as the quarterbacks club where they all actually get together and do things together. I don't know if they've done that in a while, but I remember growing up, there being talk of the quarterback club. So,
well, it's still a fraternity.
Well, no doubt. Yeah. I mean, but it's that way with D-backs. It's that way with linebackers. So every group has its own little group that hangs out because you have similar experiences, right? And so, but that it's a good thing, and that's how you build a family relationship.
It's funny, and I will say this, I don't know if you guys notice this, and I can't speak to all 27, but as I become more accustomed to watching the games, it's amazing how almost every quarterback is very attractive. They're attractive young men. I mean,
Lord. Oh Lord.
but to me it's kind of comical. It's almost like that's part of the part of the qualifications. You don't have any, I didn't see any with any acne or funky hair. They all look pretty well groomed and handsome, and I found that to be pretty comical.
Well, listen, Joe, you're more than welcome to have your the things that make you happy. That's why men like cheerleaders, because we get to look at those beautiful women as well. So it's a 50, 6 on one hand, half a dozen on the other. It's all good. We can't be mad at you.
Well, I'm just commenting. I wasn't necessarily looking. I mean, I also found many defensive backs and tight ends and running backs attractive too. So I'll give equal opportunity. David's tuning in. He's saying that's a factor of social media. 2010 and later, it became easier for people to connect, and that includes celebrities and athletes, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. They changed the social aspect of the game, certainly. But you say that, but I remember back when that is true. I mean, we're certainly exposed to more players, but even back in the day, I remember when Dwight Clark and Joe Montana, the 49ers were my favorite team when I was growing up. And really some of that was because, of course, that quick catch, but a lot of it was because of that affinity they had for one another. And I don't know if you guys remember coming up to the Super Bowl after that catch, Dwight Clark actually had a column in the paper and he was writing about, the upcoming game like every day. I don't know if it was for probably the 2 weeks. And I think that was an opportunity back in the old day, paper and print. Yeah.
You may have to explain to some of our younger viewers what a paper is.
A newspaper, right? I'll see if I can go down to my basement and see if I have any dishes wrapped up in a newspaper. I'll bring it for show and tell next time.
I got one right here.
Tim's tuning in as well. He's saying, "What's up, guys? Hi, Tim. Welcome to the conversation." So I thought the games were great.
Yeah, they were very good games. I guess you start with the Bengals and the Chiefs, Bo.
No. Well, yeah, you can go ahead, but I mean, they were great games. The last time I called my dad back and forth was when Villanova won the first of the two championships that Jay Wright won when
16. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when the heavyset kid hit the 3-pointer at the buzzer. Mm-hmm. I remember that night he and I were on the phone pretty much the whole time. But this weekend it was, okay, I'll call you back. Boom, I'll call you back. Boom, I'll call you back. I mean, we were back and forth. So because actually I thought the Kansas City game was the overall better game because it started out hot for Kansas City and then got better for the Bengals. The second game, I thought, started out slow, and then it picked up for both teams in the second half. Did you see it that way, Ferris?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, Bengals Chiefs was definitely a tale of two halves. And you may as well have called it two games because, the Chiefs came out hot, got a big early lead. And I think most of us are sitting there watching saying, okay, this is going to be a blowout. And, if there's anybody here that says they weren't thinking that, I just can't see how. But then, I think we all know where it changed, and that it changed at the end of the first half where the Chiefs are down on the 3-yard line and they don't come up with three. Bad play call, bad decision by Mahomes. And I think the great thing about it is he admitted it after the game. He admitted he got greedy, but you can't have no timeouts. And I think the other thing is he forgot he had no timeouts because you could see in the replay how after Hill was taken down, they cut back and he's popping his hands right here trying to call a timeout, and they didn't have any. So I think that kind of went into it. I think he kind of lost it there, thinking he had a timeout that he didn't have. And that 3 points, and my wife even came in. She's like, "Well, what happened?" And we told her what happened. She's like, "Well, wow, hopefully that's not the game." And 3 points ended up being the game, but it changed the momentum of the game. It changed how that game was going.
I agree with that.
Well, Andy Reid, if you know Andy Reid, like I know Andy Reid, because he coached here, he coached Donovan McNabb. Andy Reid loves to throw the ball. So that was not a analytics, play call. Andy likes to put the ball in the quarterback's hands And I agree with what you said about Mahomes getting greedy. I understand why he was greedy because he got the ball to his best athletic wide receiver. The
Sure.
problem was you have to understand the guys on the other side of the ball can play too. So what he should have done was tossed it in the end zone. And if it wasn't a catch, he'd have a second left on the clock. They could kick a field goal and get 3 points. So everybody made mistakes, but that's part of the game. I don't traditionally like rooting for a team from Ohio, but I like those guys. They play well. They look like they're good guys. They look like they like each other. And I wouldn't be surprised if I'm not making a pick, but I wouldn't be surprised if they upset the Rams next week. In 2 weeks. But we'll hold off on that.
Well, I'm making a pick because I got to come out on top. And I agree with everything you just said. I like the Bengals. I mean, I like Matthew Stafford, but I like the Bengals, and I hope they go all the way. I won't be disappointed because I'm sure he's going to have another opportunity. But we have some questions. We have some questions on the sideline, and I'm not sure who Isaiah is referring to. Well, Tim is saying, we'll jump into this for a second. What do we think of the Washington football team's new name, the Commanders? I can see Captain Crunch could be their mascot. I don't love it. I don't love it. I forgot what the options were, but I had a different one in mind, and I can't recall it now. But I don't know. It's fine. I don't think it's catchy, and we'll see if it takes on. But
no. I like the video that the press release video that they put out for the name change. But I just learned something by watching PTI, partner in the interruption program, that most writers and most people, when you think about long names of teams, folks shorten them. Like, we don't call the San Francisco 49ers San Francisco 49ers. What do we call them? The
Niners.
49ers, right?
Mm-hmm.
mm-hmm.
So teams with long names that don't have short names, those long names get converted into short names. And there's a lot of bad short conversion names for Commanders. So let's hope it doesn't turn into a bad thing, because they said some of those potential short nicknames, and it's not going to work. They should have just left. As much as I enjoyed the video was moving. I like the jersey change. They should have kept it the Washington football team.
Well, that was one of the options, right?
They should have kept
it. It was one of the options to keep it.
People had gotten used to it. What did they do with the Washington football team? They shortened it to W. The T was it? Washington football team, WFT.
Yeah.
Right? There are certain teams, based on their names, they get shortened. We all know the Cowboys is the Cowboys. They've been around a long time. It's either the Dallas Cowboys or the Cowboys. They've never had, right, a shortened name. If anything, America's team is the name they got, right? They got a new name. But the Steelers, that's easy, right? Most teams that have that short name, it sticks. But teams that have nicknames, for example, like the 49ers, that's an example. So let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens.
So
Justin, we might as well get into this because we're already at the 10:52. But Jason saying, who's going to replace Brady in Tampa? Before that, let's talk about the retirement. We talked about it again behind the scenes. I was pretty surprised. I thought he would go another season. A little bit disappointed, but of course I like to see anybody go out on top. I hate to see anybody come back, and not that he was out on top, but he had a pretty amazing season, I think, for any quarterback, but certainly one who's 44 years old. So I was disappointed, but I love the whole premise that he wants to spend time with his family, and his kids seem to be, and I think when his children, they're at the age where they want him around. They can vocalize their feelings and thoughts when they're 2, 3, 4, 5. You're just telling them what you're going to do. But now, I think they're, I forgot now, maybe 8, 10, and 12. And I think, they're weighing in now, and they probably want that around, right? Certainly, especially his two younger ones who really aren't very in sports. His oldest son is interested in sports, but he said, by all reports, he says his two younger children aren't really interested in football. So I can see it, and I give him props for that.
But they could. And maybe they could, maybe they will when they start spending more time with their dad. So it may not be football, it might be golf, it might be tennis. He doesn't know because he hasn't been around them enough. But maybe he'll find out now. Let's see.
22 years. 22 years in the league, right? 7 chips, 5 Super Bowl MVPs. He owns pretty much every all-time passing mark, all-time wins, all-time completions, TD passes, yards. So, there's nothing left to prove. There's nothing left to accomplish,
And the writing's on the wall. And what I mean by that is he's going to lose his offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. Leftwich is going to get the job in Jacksonville. So he's going to have to get used to a new quarterbacks coach / offensive coordinator. Who knows what's going to happen with Gronk? Who knows what's going to happen with the receiver that Godwin that got hurt, when he's going to be back? Plus, there are little other moves that happens to every team during the offseason. You're going to lose players because of salary, and you're going to gain players, right? So it was going to be right. It was going to be a struggle. I agree with David. He said, you know what? I've done enough. I don't need to go through this. Let's roll out. Go ahead and read that. What does it say?
He's going to struggle, and he knows it. He's talked about it when training camp starts, when the season starts, and he's watching others compete. Man, it's going to be tough. That's been his life. And I think that is the quality of the quarterbacks out there, this young group coming out. And I think both he and Aaron Rodgers spoke about it, that they that there's a new generation coming up, and they're giving some props and respect to them. So I also agree with that.
Yeah, Gronk's going to retire right behind him.
Yeah, he'll be. Listen, I don't feel bad for Tom Brady. He's going to be fine.
Yeah,
he's got plenty to do. He's got plenty to do. He's got multiple business opportunities. I didn't even know he owned a studio. That dude's got plenty to keep himself busy.
Yeah, he owns a studio with Strahan, right?
I have no idea. I didn't know that. I heard that. Busy. He's got plenty to keep him busy. Men, the guys who retire that don't have anything to do, those are the ones that go stir crazy, right? They drive their wives crazy. They need to get them out of the house. Go play golf. No, he's got plenty to do. So
yeah, he'll be busy.
He's still going to miss it, no question. He's done it for 30 plus years of his life, maybe more if you include Pop Warner. But he'll be fine. I ain't shedding a tear for that handsome young man who's got a beautiful wife and lots of money. No, he'll be fine. And guess how many networks are going to come at him to offer him money to just do guest appearances on TV? Come on. He's got plenty to do.
And they're also going to ask him to commentate. There's somebody's going to ask him to commentate. He's not going to be out of the football world for long.
No, he's got plenty to do. I ain't worried about it. Let somebody else win a Super Bowl. Thank you.
So back to Jason's question: who do we think is going to replace him? I have no idea. So I think you guys will have to weigh in. I'm clueless.
No idea. I'm one of those people. I like to wait till things start to happen. I don't have time to guess. But I'll take anybody's opinion, but I won't weigh in. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have no clue.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody knows the answer to that.
Nah, it's too early. It's just too early. We don't know we don't know what the head coach is going to do. What if the head coach decides he wants to retire? Then they got to go through a whole coaching change. Because if you lose your offensive coordinator and then your head coach retires because he's like, listen, there's no reason to do this anymore. I don't have the greatest quarterback in the league. Tampa basically is going to be starting over. They're going to be rebuilding.
Yeah. Well, Justin's bringing this up on the sideline. I want to segue off of football for a moment, and well, first I want to welcome James Gonzalez to the show. I don't know if you're I haven't seen you here before, so he's saying the chair with James Gonzalez, Commanders going commando sounds odd. Yes, I can see that being one of the nicknames. So
There
I
you
want
go.
I want to welcome you and comment on that. But Justin is talking about, and I haven't heard this yet, but he wants to talk about the whole Novak, and I do too. I want to give props to Nadal won the Australian Open, and I think that was just a momentous victory. I don't know if anybody saw the actual. He was down 2 sets. He came back. He won the final 3 sets, and yeah, it really was just a great demonstration of talent and sportsmanship. And I love seeing him come back and win against probably the number 1 male player in the world now. And he broke the record, right? There were 3 tied for, it was Novak and Nadal and Federer tied with 20 Grand Slams. And, that goes back to Novak's decision not to get vaccinated
Right.
and a little bit of karma there, right?
No, absolutely.
Yep.
The choice is there. You make your choice, and then you have to live with your choice. And his choice lost him ground. Basically, is what happened.
And he might lose more because of what's happening in the UK. He may not be allowed over there unless he gets the shots.
Right. Well, to me, I'm thinking he's got the pressure on now. There's talk that they're not going to let him into the French Open, and I have a feeling his principles are going to start to tarnish a little bit, and he's probably going to get the shot to compete in that French Open. He does not want to be down 2 Grand Slams.
Nope.
He doesn't.
You're not getting any younger.
Yeah, think about it. I mean, the president's been set. He was already left out of 1, so that makes it easy for the rest of them to say stay home as well. So he's got a choice to make. He either if he wants to play and he wants to compete in a major, then he's going to have to get it. He's going to have to get the vaccine. So, but it's his choice, right?
Right. And if they don't let him and he don't get the shot, then isn't that means he's got to come to New York?
Well, and he can't play in New York either.
Right.
Nope.
Look at Kyrie.
Nope.
So he can't even play in New York. He couldn't play in the U.S. Open.
So he's going to miss almost a full year's worth of competing. He's hurting himself big time.
Well, no matter what happens now, he's going to come out. In my opinion, his reputation's totally tarnished now, just because of the way he had behaved, and he had that press conference knowing he was COVID positive with children, and so now if you get the vaccine, you're going to look bad either way, right? Because it's your principles is why you weren't getting vaccinated. You were vehemently opposed to the vaccine. Now, just to win, you're going to go ahead and get vaccinated potentially. So he's in a tough spot either way.
I mean, his character isn't shot for me. It's just for me. I mean, and we talked about this months ago. It's just we talked about it about your job, right? And it's just one of those things. So here, lay it out on the line. Here's what it is, and you have a choice to make. If you want to continue, then you're going to go ahead and do it. If your view of it is more important than what you do for a living. And for him, I mean, he's been playing a long time. So, it's going to be interesting to see what he does.
We'll be for sure. San's coming in late. Hi, San. Welcome to the program.
Where's she been? Well, that's her loss because we finna get off because I'm finna watch Villanova.
All right, so we're beyond the time. We had a great show. We have a lot more to talk about, but want to thank everybody that we wanted. Justin's been on, Sam tuned in, Kelvin, Mr. Sanders, of course. We had David tonight, Tim, Jason, James Gonzalez, welcome. Isaiah popped in as well. So we had a really full crowd tonight. I hope I didn't miss anybody. I'm scrolling back to make sure We didn't, well, let's talk about before we go. We want to remind everybody that, actually we'll remind everybody of two things we have coming up. We have our Super Bowl show that is going, and I do want you to talk about that for a minute, Bodine. So we're going to have, it's going to be a 2-hour program, 3 to 5 potentially, but it sounds like we're going to go the full 2 hours. I mean, you already have, there's not going to be room for us to have any guests, Adrian. Bodine's got
That's all right.
a full itinerary there. But we're going to be talking about all different types of things. We're going to talk about on the lighter side, we're going to talk about Tim and Jason are going to come on potentially and talk a little bit about Super Bowl foods, but we're also going to talk about relationships and sportsmanship. And why don't you talk a little bit, Bodine, about our guests and what we have on tap?
Oh, we have a really great lineup of guests. Husband and wife team, an author, Anne-Marie Kelly, and her husband. Anne-Marie wrote the book on 5-year marriage, and her husband's going to talk about, because he's a former track athlete, and they're going to talk about how spouses and significant others, their relationships when one loves sports and the one may not be necessarily interested in it, mainly, a woman and versus her husband. And then we're going to have one of my former teammates, Big Country, and his wife. And they're going to talk, Queen. I call her Queen of the Big Country, right? Because she is the queen of the Big Country, because that's his nickname. She's going to talk about being a wife of a coach, and he's going to talk about his experience being a coach. We've got another former teammate of mine that's going to be a guest. We got quite a few guests that's going to be on. And then our following week, we're going to have our Black History Month podcast on President's Day that starts at 8:00. And we have quite a few guests lined up for that. So it's going to be a really nice month for the Super Bowl and Black History Month.
So, and we'll talk a little bit more about Black History Month probably after the Super Bowl, but we'll start, we'll start talking about it. But yeah, we really hope people will tune in and join us on Super Bowl Sunday. And if you can't stay for the whole show, just pop in and out. And of course, you can see the replay. We know everybody has plans, but we should be your number one plan. Come on. Cassandra's saying the Chiefs lost. I'm not watching the Super Bowl. All right, you don't have to watch the Super Bowl. You just have to watch our special. So don't worry about that. Oh, and I do want to talk about, I don't know if you guys have seen the memes, but I'm really looking forward to the Super Bowl halftime show. I don't always, but these are the memes that are talking about, I don't know, have you seen them, where all kids across the country are going to see who their parents really are when they all start crib walking across the room on the Super Bowl halftime show. They have Eminem.
Because of Eminem, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar, Snoop Dogg, and Dre. Yeah.
Right. So, that's our old, they have the parents all decked out, and, just a different persona, right? Seeing your parents singing along to those tunes. I'll be jammy. Can't say headbanging to that, but
I think the Super Bowl halftime show is going to be incredible.
I do too. I'm really looking forward to that.
Have you seen the trailer commercial?
I have.
Yep.
And they're saying, some people are saying, well, it's good. It's a little mini concert with a football game thrown in. So a lot of people
aren't they always?
That's what they all are.
That's what they all are. Mike, who started it? Michael Jackson started it, right? Or the Jackson 5? Somebody started it. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, there's some big games. So Brandon has a prediction. We're wrapping it up, Brandon, but we'll give you a shout out. He's tuning in. The Super Bowl will go 3-0 overtimes. Maybe we'll see. All right, you were 2-0 this week, Brandon. So we'll give you some props and we'll put that out there.
Well, there will not be a tie. They changed the rules for the playoffs and the Super Bowl, so there will not be a tie. Someone's going to win.
No, somebody's got to win.
Lose. Yep.
And we'll need 3 OTs to outdo what's gone on in the last two playoff weekends.
Wouldn't it be fitting to go into an overtime Super Bowl? Because I don't think, as far as I can remember, we've never done it. At least I can't remember one.
I don't remember one either. No.
Not a Super Bowl. Maybe back in the old days when they called it the championship, maybe that happened. But since it's
Maybe.
been titled Super Bowl,
I don't think so.
I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Well, we all know what a big fan Justin is of, Tom Brady and how he's always called him the GOAT and all that. But, his loyalties are dying out. I mean, he's got a new GOAT. Oh, no, that's the wrong thing. Where did he say? Oh, here it is.
Oh,
Now,
did the Pats and Falcons go into OT? That's what I just saw pop up there.
I don't remember.
Oh, yeah,
that.
Pats versus Falcons went into OT.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
But back to Justin. Eminem is the new GOAT in his mind. Tom Brady's out. Eminem is in. So we'll see, Justin. We'll see who your new guy is. Who he's. Oh, well, he's got Mac Jones, so he's got somebody.
Yeah, he's got Mac Jones, but I like tell Justin I like Eminem, so it's good. He's good.
Yeah, I like him too. So yeah, so that'll be exciting. So all right, great show, great week. We have, a great month of February. We didn't talk about, maybe we could do it for the Black History Month. We never got to the bomb threats for the HBCUs. I certainly think that's an important topic, but we just don't have enough time to cover it all.
We'll do that for Black History Month.
We definitely want to do that. So. All right, so Chris, of course, we can't, nothing happens here without you. You're behind the scenes, so everybody can't see your spiffy haircut. But I will say, I'm talking about those handsome quarterbacks. They also have a handsome producer in the back. So
yeah, he won this past weekend, so he should get the golf clap.
So thank you. Thanks for everything, Chris, and you can play us out. Oh, well, what do you, any of you guys have any closing thoughts or just wrapping it up? You want to get to the game?
Got to go V's up, baby. We got to go watch the game. V's up.
All right, play us out, Chris.